Pimlico isn't necessarily the kind of place you get on a tube to visit. You're likely here because you found a cheap hotel or the rent's tolerable. But Pimlico is an incredibly pretty place. I've lived here for 10 years, and when I decided to do a series about all the best places to be in London, I always knew that I wouldn't start with Shoreditch or Covent Garden or any of the places that people always talk about. I was going to start with my home, Pimlico. Pimlico begins the south edge of Victoria Station and ends at the Thames. Around the south side of Pimlico is considered the rough end of things, but that's a little unfair. It's a pretty safe neighbourhood. A good day in Pimlico begins at Pimlico Fresh, where a plate of eggs and a coffee will set you back around a tenner, probably slightly more. For lunch, the takeaway at Cyprus Mangal is great, or if it's a Sunday, go to Grumbles for a roast. If you're American and you want to try fish and chips, go here, Sea Fresh. It will be most crowded on Fridays, which is the day people traditionally eat fish and chips. Something to do with Jesus and his takeaway habits, I'm not sure. In the evening, Morinoya is by far my favourite. There's so many great things to eat here, and it's much more reasonable than a lot of the Japanese food in London. Now, let's talk pubs. By my calculation, there are 12 pubs in Pimlico, mainly clustered around this area. And in my mind, I don't think that any of them are any good. But I don't know that for sure, so I take the entire production budget for this video and hit the road. In the graphical accompaniment for this section, I will be played by the dog from Monopoly. I started the Broom. The Broom. It's alright. Next stop is the St George's Tavern, which I walked into, filmed and left, but cut the footage together with another pub to make it look like I had a beer there. Third was the Prince of Wales, which was a proper traditional pub, in that it had old men listening to Whitney Houston and board games. Fourth on the list was the Marquis of Westminster, pronounced Marquis and not Marquis because the Marquis of Westminster was Brit. You know what, it doesn't matter. Fifth was the Warwick, where I began to show the first signs of being wasted, thinking this would be an interesting shot. It was also the place, if you like the look of it, that was not the St George's Tavern. This was followed in quick succession by the Queen's Arms, the Constitution, Cask, Moo Cantina, the Gallery and the Grosvenor, finishing at the White Ferry, which is now a youth hostel as well. I really wouldn't trust my judgment on this because, I was drunk. But the nicest pub was the Warwick, and the most traditional pub, like the pub that's most like what a pub's meant to be, was a split decision between the Constitution and the Prince of Wales. And once that's all added to the book, that's Pimlico pubs done. Tate Britain is a little overwhelming when you've got a hangover. And walking around Tate Britain isn't on my list of great things to do in Pimlico. It's not in Pimlico for a start, it's near, but walking around it certainly isn't great. And this is the mistake people make when in London. They forget that the museums and art galleries are free. In every other city in the world, entrance to this place would cost you around 15 quid, which leads you to the really poor habit of wandering around for hours to get your money's worth. You look at a Turner, a Hockney, a Wallace. But Tate Britain is free. And one of the great things to do in Pimlico isn't go there and look at 100 paintings really badly, but to go there and look at one painting really well. This painting is called Orphelia, and it was painted by Sir John Everett Millais when he was just 22 years old. It's considered one of the most important paintings of the Pre-Raphaelite movement, and was loved by Salvador Dali, who saw the Pre-Raphaelites as surrealists. It shows the moment in Hamlet where Ophelia, sent mad by grief, allows herself to drown. And whilst there are many significant things about this painting, which are all gone into in some detail in the videos linked below, the thing that really stuck with me was the story of the model, Elizabeth Siddal. She is 19 here, and in order to pose for this painting, she floated in a bath of water for 11 hours a day, 6 days a week for 5 months, becoming very sick because of it. She was a model for other artists too, most notably her husband, Rossetti, but she was an artist and poet in her own right. What I find most interesting about Elizabeth is that she spent 5 months in a bath playing the role of someone who was so sad they had decided to end their own life. And 12 years on, at the age of 32, Elizabeth did exactly that. She had lost a child and had several bouts of depression, and in February of 1862 she took an overdose and died. Rossetti, her husband, was purportedly so distraught when he found her that he brought 4 doctors to the house, one after the other, to try and revive her. She's buried in Highgate Cemetery, and while she's undoubtedly left a mark on the world, bigger than most of us, it's difficult to know out of the many thousands of people who look at the painting every day, how many of those people actually see her. And that's why we should only ever look at one picture, but look at it really well. There's every chance that after the Tate you'll need a coffee or something stronger, and you'll definitely need a more upbeat soundtrack. The final place I want to tell you about is a short walk across the river from Pimlico, and it's called Brunswick House. It's quite similar to the house in Up because every inch around it has been bought and developed. It's a restaurant, a bar, a breakfast place, a coffee shop, but more than all these things, it's an antiques dealer. It's the kind of place where you can fill an hour just guessing the price of everything. These chairs, £1,750. These prison cell doors, yours for £700 a piece. It's an excellent venue for a first date, and probably a last date too. Who wouldn't want to be dumped in front of this picture of a lion? £8,500 if you're in the market. The cocktails are good, the atmosphere is great, and the food is, well, cheaper than the early 21st century rose brass doorknobs. So I hope you've enjoyed the first in this London Notebook series. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see all the future episodes, and let me know which other areas you'd like to see featured in the comments section below.